So I feel like my Methow Valley story began probably in 1990 when I was 4 years old. My dad went on a pack trip to the Pasayten with who would become his lifelong best friend, Claude Miller. And Claude Miller, years later, would become my great uncle when I married his nephew, Jess. And that was kind of the beginning of my family's sort of slow assimilation into Valley life. And I grew up in Edmonds, finished schooling over there, youngest of 3 daughters, but throughout my entire childhood from 1990 on, the Met House sort of represented this other piece of our family's story. Spent holidays here in this house, made a lot of friends and family connections. I met my husband when I was 8 years old over at Claude Miller's house getting horses to go for a ride with my dad, and he and his dad Steve were shoeing horses. And that was just sort of the beginning. I went away to WSU for college after graduating from high school and have never lived on the west side of the mountains since then. I think it was sort of representative of finding not just my place in the world, but also a pace for myself that felt really at home and natural to me. And it's just, I think the onset of my childhood discovery of this place and feeling like I could really see myself here and make it my home was largely in part due to the relationships. Families that I met as a little girl who now have come full circle and are somehow back in my life again. I was thinking when I was at the high school football game last weekend, I was talking to Brett Allenbaugh, who's worked at Sun Mountain for a long time, and thinking about how as a tiny kid he gave me my first cross-country ski lesson, and now I'm the principal of his son's high school. And that seems to be sort of the case everywhere you turn around here. It's either family or friends or neighbors or someone who was sort of part of our journey at the very beginning years of my family being in the Valley, and now it's come full circle and people are back in my life in different capacities. I can see in my work in the school district how important it is that we recognize our differences, but also that we have this really strong uniting piece through youth experiences and through the school district. And regardless of how different folks are throughout the Valley, we also have these experiences that bring us together. And obviously it's cliche to say, but that we're always reminded that there's more that we have in common than are our differences. I think that, something that sticks out in my mind when I think about just my life in the Valley and those moments that sort of define what it means to be a part of our community. I think about the Carlton Complex fire. I had, brand new baby, 4-month-old baby, and my husband was at Spanish camp up in the Pasayten for the first 5 days of the fire, had no idea anything was going on. And it was for the first time in my life that I, was considering things like evacuating myself and a home and a property, let alone 85 horses and mules that I had found my way to be responsible for through my husband. And just thinking about what that experience was like to be faced with a challenge for the first time and to turn around and immediately find neighbors and family and strangers who were just on the ready with an outpouring of support. And I think that was the beginning of what would become not the exception to the rule, but rather the rule as far as how we show up for each other in our community. And I see the same thing play out in the school environment as well. When there's a death in the community or some kind of hardship, whether it be funding challenges in public schools last spring and organizations that do what they can to make ends meet and to make sure that important programming and opportunities don't go away. The strength of our community and the resolve that we have to show up for one another, I think never ceases to amaze me. And it's one of the things that even though I didn't grow up here, I know what other communities have to offer, but that is one of those pieces that has made it so clear and compelling to my husband and I that this is where we want to be, and it's certainly where we want our children to grow up. Just knowing that at every turn you've got people looking out for you and looking out for your kids, and in the end, by graduation day, it's a celebration of all of our efforts to pour into young people. And I think that, I really have felt that, especially the last couple of years at the high school graduation, that in addition to the students and their teachers and their parents, it's really a huge testament to community support for raising children. And when the time comes to celebrate that, I think you look around at the sea of people and you can identify that every kid in our community has this just like unbelievable net of folks who are watching them and encouraging them and showing up to their events and cheering for them, from the various sidelines, and that it's a place where I think children have the opportunity to grow up feeling confident in themselves because of the love and care and support that others have given them. And my hope is that confidence tells all kids, not just my own, but my students as well, that they have what it takes to be able to leave and take on the world and learn new things and meet new people and have their own experiences, and then ultimately to come home, because this is sort of that place that ties us all together. I'll never forget last year's graduation, just having the first group of seniors that I got to participate in their commencement as their principal, and especially being able to hand my own nephew his diploma. So thinking about just these amazing opportunities to be deeply connected to the broader community, to participate in some of our rich traditions in the Valley, and things that obviously evolve and grow over time, but I think it's really important, and I am always proud that the Mao does a great job of hanging on to what's really good about our past and celebrating heritage and traditions and families in agriculture and whatever it may be. I think that those are some of the experiences that are the most meaningful. They are to me. I have a sense that my kids will look back on them and feel the same way. I feel like a great example of this was the tradition that Jane Orm at the school district started a long time ago of every seventh grader putting together their Me, Myself, and I autobiography project. And when my husband was a seventh grader, he put together this autobiography project. And it's an incredible, year-long culminating project for seventh graders, where they're really engaging in a lot of research around their own family histories and exploring aspects of their identity and their connection to a particular place. And as I, moved back and became a teacher at Liberty Bell, I found myself in the same seventh grade English class, and the first time that, now it was my job to deliver this lesson and to help students with this project. And anyway, it just was such a trip to pull my husband's autobiography off the shelf to use as teaching material, and to think about the full circle experience of some of these traditions and experiences that kids have coming up, and how important it is that we don't lose sight of that, and that we keep kind of keep resurrecting some of those really invaluable experiences that I think for kids are like the hallmark of, what do you remember about seventh grade? Well, everyone's going to remember their Me, Myself, and I. And even for myself as the teacher, and then to do that work alongside kids, I had a chance to really reflect on my identity as a member of this community, as a part of the Mount Valley, and to think about how belonging to a place is a real uniting force for all of us. We may have, all of these differences, but we have something incredibly powerful and significant that keeps us bound together.